So hello you guys and welcome back to my channel. Today's video is another chat interview style video, and it is with the gorgeous Samantha Ferris. Samantha Ferris, who we all know and love as Ellen from Supernatural. She's been a part of so many other projects. Oh, getting to sit and talk and discuss all things film, TV, passions, advice, Supernatural obviously. It was brilliant. She is such an absolute gem. I say it time and time again, this style of video is my favourite style of video to do, but obviously it's difficult to get yeses, to get people, to get schedules to line up, to get people to be able to sit and talk. So this just, oh my god, means an awful lot to me. And she, like I said, she was an absolute blast to talk with. So yeah, here is my chat with the lovely Samantha. But Samantha, thank you so much for sitting and chatting and agreeing to take time out of your day to talk to me.
Yeah, what is that you've got going on in the back? I can barely see it, but wow, it looks pretty involved. What is that? Is that all supernatural stuff?
There is, the better question is what is not going on in the back. There's like
oh my god, look at all that.
I think
is that
three
on a
shelves.
wall or what is that?
Do you know, at this point,
it's bookcases. It's bookcases with lights on it, and it's wow, you are a committed lady.
Dude, it is one bookcase. These are two mini ones that I kind of stacked together and nailed together to look like one. That's an old shelf unit again.
Yeah.
Stacked together, nailed together. It's all very DIY, smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, but it looks great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm a collector of things. I love shiny stuff and things that anything from a show or a film that I love, I'm like, I gotta have it. And now, sadly, I have no more room, and yet I keep buying stuff.
You know what? Whatever. I think everybody's got their own stuff that does it for them. You know, I think that's a good thing. I have, and that you're going to laugh at this. It's not on the same level, but I have a jigsaw puzzle going right now, and it is the absolute fucking love of my life. I love jigsaw puzzles more than going out with my friends. I am like, a friend of mine and I will sit there, I'll go and visit. Yes, exactly.
Same.
So whatever it is that and you know what, yours is worth money. Like, you'll be able to sell that shit I even have stuff from Supernatural that I've looked at and I've just got it in the storage and I'm like, what do you want to do with this? You want to just give this away? And I'm like, no, fuck it. You know what? In 20 years, I'll be able to sell this for a ridiculous amount of money. So yours is at least worth money. Yours is something you can pull out and look at and go, oh, I remember when I bought this. I'm a fan of collecting stuff.
Dude, you should have your stuff on display. If you have stuff from shows or films or projects you work on, that should be on display. I want to go back to the beginning for you. Where did your love of all things acting come from?
You know what? I went about this a really different way than most people. I believe, I mean, you can learn to be an actor and work hard at it, but some people, I think it's just a natural thing. It just comes, it's something you were meant to be. And I think that I was always meant to be a performer of sorts. I was in radio, I was a radio announcer for 30 years. I still am. You know, I was a weather girl for the local TV station, you know. So I think I've always been in the performance arts, but I didn't commit to being a full-time actor until I was 28, which is great because it gives people motivation that you can do anything at any age of your life. We're here to create and do stuff, and you can turn and do a 180 and go, I don't like this, and become a completely different person, reinvent your life, which I've done 3 times in my life. So it was kind of a weird story. I was working on radio. I was kind of hating it. I was bored. I didn't like my boyfriend. My life was going meh. It was just petering along as it goes sometimes. And my dad died, and he was a horrible person. Don't get me wrong, but it woke me up. It didn't upset me, but it woke me up because it said, wow, he was 62, which is quite young. And I thought, fuck it, you can, die trying, do what you want to do in this life because it's so short. So I said, what do you really want to do? You hate your life. Hate's a strong word. I didn't like my life. And so I went, well, you know what? I've always wanted to take a crack at the acting thing. I know it's something that I come by naturally. And I went, at 28, you really want to do this at 28? My mother even said, oh, darling, because for a parent, that's terrifying. Oh, darling, Christ, 28. She was very worried for my safety and my health, and clearly didn't think I had the chops, which is very much my mother. And I went, yeah, I think this is what I'm supposed to do. So God love me. I had the balls and I lied. I got a bartending job at night. I started auditioning. I got an agent. So at 28, I started the acting world, and I came from television and radio and media. And I said to this agent, I said, look, I have no experience at 28, but send me out for all the reporter roles because I live in Vancouver, and There's so much stuff shot here, and they use real reporters. If you ever see anything shot in Vancouver, those people that are, there's a reporter in every movie. There's a reporter, they're always reporting, you know what I mean? They're always real. They usually hire them from the TV networks here. So I said, I will go out. I said, you can submit me for all the reporter roles you want. And I booked tons of them. I said, but after a year, you have to start setting me up for acting roles. And they said, yeah, okay. So sure enough, I did a year of reporter. And then finally I said, okay, that's a year. I've done a lot for you and me. I've made us both a lot of money. I said, now send me for the acting roles. And I think my first job was a show called, it was a movie with Morgan Freeman and Jess and Monica Potter, who was a partier. God, but that was a crazy shoot and so much fun. But my first job, and it was, I played the principal of a school. It was called not Kiss the Girls. It was a book that turned into a movie. What was it called? Along Came a Spider. I think that was my first big role, my first big acting role. Everything else was like reporter, screaming woman,
Mm.
blah, blah. So, and then off it went. And then I blasted off from there. And I'm leaving that now. Now I'm going into chronic pain. It's a long story. I'll do, if we're going to go over what am I doing, we can talk about that later. But now I'm sort of going into something that I'm really meant to be doing. And it's more spiritual based. Anyway, I have beliefs about what you're supposed to be doing in this world, and we can talk about it later if you want. But I have thoughts, and I think we're meant to do good things in this life. And as an actor, no offense, you're not helping anybody. There's no altruism to being an actor. I sit around, craft service, eat, get treated like a queen, put my hair and makeup on, spit some lines out, make a lot of money and go home. That's not helping the world. And I didn't have kids, and I don't have a husband or a dog right now. I don't have any commitment. And you don't, you got to commit. You have to give something to this world before you leave. And having kids, that's if you have a child that is not a murderer or robbing banks, then you've done your job to the universe. But I didn't do that. So my job is to add to this world before I leave. And I struggled with chronic pain, had it for 20 years, learned what it was. And now the rest of my life is now going to be, it's a long story, but it's going to be committed to helping people out of chronic pain. Sorry, I said we are going to talk about it later, and we just talked about it now. So, duh.
What a fucking story, though.
I
20.
know. Sorry, that was a lot of information right there. I'm drinking a
No.
lot of coffee this morning. I have a lot to do. Sorry, that was a lot of information.
Usually with actors and stuff, it's you get the whole I love theater and I grew up in it and blah blah blah. But to hear that somebody decided 28, which is the age I am, so to hear
Oh,
somebody
there you
go,
go.
yeah, 28, I decided to change things around and
And
I
then I
want
changed it again, and then I changed it again. So the
and
point
yeah.
being, you can change your life at any time. I'm 55 years old, and I'm going into a brand new career with a brand new everything, websites, all that stuff. And I'm like, do I really want to do this at 55? You can do anything at any age. Don't ever let age hold you back. And if I would say to anybody a piece of advice in their lives, don't ever think you can't do something. I became an actor, full-time actor at 28. People are like, that's way too old. No, it's not. And I had a very successful career. And then I went, what did I do? I also I worked for a record label in Toronto. I traveled with Oasis and bands and Joe Cocker and Alice Cooper. Then I went back to radio. Then I became an actor. Like you can really, this life is to do whatever you want with it. Don't ever let age hold you back from anything. That's the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody at this point.
Well, one, I absolutely agree with that because I hate that narrative that you have to reach certain milestones by certain ages, and if you don't, you're lagging behind in life, or I always fucking hated that mindset in regards to anything.
Who said that? Who created that? Who created that? No, I don't even
I
know
don't
if
know.
anybody created that. We did. Our insecurities created that. It's bullshit. I'm living proof that you can do whatever you want. And if you don't like the road you're on, you can just one day wake up and go, fuck this. I don't want to do this anymore. And I'm not going to waste another minute of my life that is short, 80 whatever years. And the last 20 don't really count. What are you going to do with it? Well, do what you want with it because life is fucking short. So that's what I learned 3 times. Now I'm on the road. Now I know exactly what I'm supposed to be doing and what everything in my life led up to this. So I don't have any regrets about any of it. But what I'm doing is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Always learning, always changing.
Always.
I want to touch back on what you said about record labels because I did not know that. Side
Oh,
note,
yeah.
completely gone off track. My brother's in a band and I've been reaching out to everybody and anybody about from labels and
Yeah.
anyone that's like in the entertainment industry. How did that come around for you?
What was I doing? Like I said, I had no fear about taking on something different. I think I was working in radio and
Right.
my boss left. She went to work for a record label and said, and I'd started in radio and marketing. I was the cruiser girl. It's a long story, but I drove the Kokanee Cruiser, which is a beer. You're in the UK? Are you in Ireland? Where are you?
Ireland. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I'm in Canada, and Kokanee's used to be a very famous blue collar beer here. And I drove the Kokanee Cruiser for a radio station where we drive around to all the functions, and you just like greatest job ever. Drank more beer and got laid more than anybody should ever drink beer and get laid. And at 21, it was
As a
fucking.
job.
I know exactly, and I got paid for this. Not much, but I got paid for this. And she went and said, "Hey, you'd be a very good marketing rep." I had a marketing brain. And she said, "I'm working for Sony. Do you want to come?" So I started just being a delivery, started just being the Joe job for Sony Music Canada, which is a big label around the world.
Yeah.
And I was good at it. So I ended up, I think I'd left radio and TV at that point in time, and I became a full-time marketing rep. And then Toronto, which is the head office for Canada, said, "We have a big marketing job out here that we need somebody to fill. You're good at your job. We love you. Do you want to come to Toronto?" So I went to Toronto for a couple of years, and I was a marketing, what did we call it back then? I think I was just a label rep or a marketing rep. So you basically represented all the media and the radio stations. You were the one that went around and took the CDs and said, "Hey, here's the latest from Oasis. Here's the latest from blah, blah, blah." And you also were responsible for taking the actors that came to, or the actors, the artists that came to town. It was my responsibility to take them around to press and then bring press to the shows. And it's hard. It's a hard job, but it was a great job. So I'm like, fuck it. Yeah. So I went to Toronto for a couple of years and was a marketing rep and smoked pot with Joe Cocker and hung out with Alice Cooper. I say Oasis because I'm so excited that they've just announced that they're going to, I don't know if they'll stay together long enough to do
Nobody
more.
does.
No, I don't know if that's going to happen, but you know, we were the first Canadian show ever. Nobody'd really heard of them. We brought them to Toronto. Like it was a really good time in my life. So yeah, it was great. The music industry is not the same as it was. It's just kind of gone. It's funny, my best friend, her son is in a band. He's a musician and it's not really radio music. He's kind of more of a performer. And he said, "Sam, what do I do?" And I said, "Don't go after the record labels." And I would say this to your brother too. The record labels, they're done. They're done. It's gone. It's like radio. It's just, it's all online. It's all streaming now. I would say the only way to really make money as a musician is make your own content and tour. Just tour, 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 tour.
Yeah, a lot of people are going independent. Even bigger bands are going independent, which I thought was weird. Um,
A lot
anyway,
of money. Yeah. Anyway,
getting
so
back
there's
to
that.
you.
Yes. Yeah, of course.
In terms of acting and that kind of realm of stuff, when you were starting out, what would initially draw you to roles? What would make you want to take on projects?
I always because of my voice and my personality, I like the rough, edgy. Like my ideal role to play would be like, I've always said this, Courtney Love. I would love to have played Courtney Love back because she was edgy and raw and fucked up and disturbed and all that shit. So I like that. And because my voice is so powerful and my personality is so powerful, I don't get the sweet mom. I don't get the crying, pretty tear down the face. I don't get those roles. I get the sort of stronger, tougher roles. And what I tend to get, which kind of got tiring after a while, is, head of the FBI, head of the CIA. Like the role in Supernatural was such a great gig because I got to play a normal human being, but just was rough around the edges. That was tough.
Mm.
And those are the roles that I like. Being suit, we used to call it tits in a suit. Sorry, that's kind of gross, but we used to call me tits in a suit because I would, like I said, I would play head lawyer, head cop, head sheriff of a small town. We shoot a lot of Hallmark here. So I always was the power role, but it was always kind of just moving the story forward. It's when I get to play the power role, but also that's a real person that's edgy and kind of messed up and raw. And those are my favorite roles to play.
Roles that there's some sustenance to, that there's a person in there somewhere.
Yeah, but just fucked up. And yeah, I can play fucked up really well, oddly.
Yeah. I relate to that. Those are the kind of characters, and I'm always teased over it as well because I do reviews and like reactions and stuff on my YouTube, and
Mhm.
people always pick up on that. They're like, Yeah, as soon as the character walks in, it's a bit fucked up. It's a bit like not right. Everyone knows you're gonna love them, and I'm like, well, look, they're more interesting. They're more
Yeah, they
interesting
are
to
more interesting.
watch. They, yeah, I don't know. With everything that you've done TV, film. I think you've done a bit of voice acting as well.
Oh
What
yeah.
what aspect or side of it did you enjoy the most? Or do you enjoy the most?
Um, I think interacting with other actors, getting into an emotional scene with another actor. I love crying on camera. Crying on camera is just so, I'm not a crier. I'm not a big emotional person, so it's kind of my therapy. So getting into a really emotional scene with another person and really being in it, that's a great buzz for me. That's why I do it. Certainly wasn't for, the money and everything else. That was really connecting with another person. Yeah. I would say that. Yeah, even in radio, like radio, when you have a good conversation going with someone, it really feels good. When you're delivering a good piece of information, it's good. The voice stuff, I liked, and I did some. I recently done some motion capture for some video game. I mean, I've done video games, and I did recently. I did a an acting gig on gamers would know this. It's called New Tales from the Borderlands because Borderlands was a big game, and then it became Tales from the Borderlands, and I think our latest was New Tales from the Borderlands, and it was a cross between acting and voice. I mean, it's very much motion capture. You got little balls all over you. You look like you're in a swimsuit. So not an appealing look for me, especially. God, they're like, "Do you want a picture?" I'm like, "Why would I want a picture of that?"
No, burn it.
And, and it was fun, but being in a character and acting on film and knowing that the whole crew is quietly sitting there while you're really connecting with another person, I would say that's really the buzz for me. I would say that's probably the buzz for most people that are performers.
It's funny because when you mention motion capture or mocap, I always just think of oh my God, Gollum, Andy Serkis.
Oh yeah, that's
Oh,
right.
there's
Yeah.
always behind the scenes of him looking pure freaky and like the morph suit with the balls. That always freaked me
Yeah.
out as a
It's
kid.
hard. It's harder than you think to do because you're you're in a big space, like you're just in a big gymnasium, and you have to reach for things that aren't there. And you have to really be very specific where you land and where you put your hand because they're going to you're it's not green screen, but it's the same idea. And
Yeah.
so you're really faking it. You're not in the outfit. It's very hard. It's much harder than I ever thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I can't even imagine that.
No, you have to act against nothing. So it was
Yeah.
tough.
But in terms of that kind of side of things, is there any other side or aspect that you'd like to explore that you haven't done before? Maybe producing or directing, if you haven't?
Nope, I have zero interest in that. Zero. I
Really?
never have. You know what? And I know all my actor buddies and anybody that's been in this long enough usually moves towards that.
Yeah.
Producing is so hard, and you got to be sleazy. And I'm not really. I am not sleazy. And I mean, there's just the sleazy side to producing. It's when you're talking about money and ego, you're going to go a little sleazy. I don't want to produce. Directing, I've never had the interest. I've never understood what camera you would use. I've never cared about angles and no, I really have had no interest. I've done but people are like, "Do you want to go and do stage?" And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to do stage. I did a bit of stage when I was younger. I don't know why I don't have any interest in it. And maybe I would have morphed into something else, but then I found the chronic pain stuff. And so that's more my focus now is moving, not a, I will move somewhat away from the acting. It'll always be a go-to. If I get a phone call from somebody saying, "Hey, do you want to come and be in this?" I'll always say yes, but my focus is not necessarily on there anymore. But no, acting was only ever my thing. I never wanted to go behind the camera really and do any of that other stuff that no, was never an interest to me.
That's really interesting because it's usually the
Yeah.
complete opposite.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, the boys have both directed. I don't know if Misha ever directed. Yeah, I think it's a natural progression when you're around something that much. You start to look at what they're doing with the camera. When you're waiting for them to set stuff up, you get an interest in this stuff. And I know a ton of people that have gone into directing, that have gone into a little bit of producing, that kind of stuff. And I just never had that interest. Never.
nice. I guess you found your groove in that kind of world, and
Yeah.
you're that's good.
Yeah.
I'm good with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I wish I did. I wish I was interested in it because it'll give you more stability, but no, no interest.
But does it ruin doing what you do? Does it ruin how you watch things? Like, can you just sit down and watch a TV show or a film, or are you thinking like, how many shots did that take? How hard was that dialogue? to learn.
Yeah. No, but I tell you what you do see. You see bad acting. And I only have Netflix right now. It's the only thing because I've been busy. So I only have Netflix and Netflix they've got some shite on Netflix and they
Yeah.
really have some shit on there. And my patience for bad acting and bad writing, really bad writing. I used to be entertained by anything. Now I'll 4 minutes in, and if it's bad, and there's even some stuff that people love that I'm like, this is shit. So you definitely judge the acting and the writing. Not the angles and the shooting so much, because that's yeah, if you directed 15 episodes, you would definitely start to watch that. Anybody would. But I see some bad acting and I'm like, oh my God, how did they get away with that? That's a horrible thing to say because you're judging your fellow actors, but I'm sure I've given some very bad acting to bad performances, but yeah, I've seen some shit and just gone, ooh, I can't watch this.
I mean, yeah, I mean, as a regular viewer, it's the same with me. Or what's worse is if something is hyped up and talked up, like I'm not going to name names, but if a film or show comes out and everyone's like, it's the best thing of the last 10 years, and then you watch it and you're kind of going,
Yeah. You
this?
can't listen. You can't listen to that stuff because it builds up your expectations. What was the recent one that everybody loved about the atom bomb with Killian
Oh,
Murphy?
Oppenheimer.
Yeah, and I'm just like, wow, I don't what? And something else I actually turned off and went, I don't know what everybody's talking about. So yeah, you can't listen to that stuff. And then I've seen stuff that I love that people are like, this is shit. And I'm like, oh my God, I loved that. Like some really stupid shit. Hot Tub Time Machine. I talked a friend of
Yes.
mine into watching it the other day. It's dumb. It's Hollywood. I loved it. A friend of mine is like, really? And she's heady. She's intelligent. She's educated. And I'm like, dude, if you hate it, buy the DVD. She's still buying DVD. She's old school.
Hey, me
She
too.
bought it. She thought, yeah, there you go. I don't.
Yeah.
She loved it. But some people think it's the stupidest thing ever. My one of my favorite movies ever is called uh um Sarah Marshall. What is it? Not Getting Over Sarah Marshall.
Getting Sarah Marshall.
Yes, that is, I think, my favorite comedy. And some people go, it's a stupid. Oh my God, I could watch that day in and day out. So who knows? The great thing about film and TVs and TV shows is there's something, it's like ugly dogs. There's an owner for everything, there's an audience for every show. People watched Saved by the Bell. Now, you don't know Saved by the Bell, but it was possibly one of the, back in the day, it was the worst thing you've ever, like, I couldn't watch 2 seconds of it. But there's an audience, a huge audience. So, you know what I mean? Like ugly people get laid. Like ugly dogs have people that love them. Like there's something for
There's
everyone.
hope for
Thank
everyone.
God. Yeah.
But you know
So
what I
great.
find though? I find that like the movies you've been mentioning, they're all older ones. And I lately have been on a kick with like 90s and noughties movies. And I find
Yeah.
that it is the more kind of silly or mindless films that I'm enjoying more lately.
Yeah. The real kind of, what they don't make television the way they used to. It's like music. Like I was a big classic rock fan and they don't make stuff like Led Zeppelin and the Stones anymore. In fact, it's so sad because the kids today listen to me, the kids today. Ooh, can't believe I just said that. That sounds so old. But the kids today literally are like, ew, Led Zeppelin. And then you go and listen to a Stairway to Heaven or a really good Stone song. They don't make music. And I'm so grateful that I grew up with it because it really is uh art. And everybody will have that, like, though, but your audience, your age will love music now, and then in 40 years time, I don't know what it's going to sound like in 40 years time, but you guys will look back on your music and go, I remember when, like, it's bizarre. Age is as things progress and evolve, I don't know what music's going to sound like in 100 years. Maybe there won't be music, maybe we won't be here, I don't know, but
How things are going, it's looking that way, isn't it?
yeah, the old school. I guess, you always gravitate to what you grew up around and what you knew, and that's what makes us old, I guess.
Oh, stop. I've been feeling that lately, especially with, like I said, films and music, because I grew up on, like, my mom was big into Linkin Park and Muse and
Yeah.
all that kind of scenes. Like, I grew up on that and then found my own groove. But lately, all I want is what I grew up on. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. I don't know. Is it because I'm like nearing 30 and I'm just craving that kind of familiarity?
I think that's it though. I think it's like you're always comfortable in the neighborhood you grew up in. Even if you don't live there anymore, you can walk through it and feel at home. I think that's the same thing with music and movies from your era. It reminds you of an easier time because childhood was an easier time. We just everybody, it was an easier, I mean, it was hard in many ways. There was trauma and horrible shit, but as
Mm.
an adult, life is scary, mortgages and payments and family and stress and jobs and careers and all that shit. As a kid, you were completely ignorant to all that stuff. So there was an innocence to our childhood. So when we go back to the music and the movies and the nostalgia of our childhood, I think that there's always going to be a comfort there for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Hmm.
And it's funny because you mentioned earlier that you were talking about acting or that it's not like making a difference or making a big impact on the world. I can honestly say, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass because you're here. Supernatural. I found Supernatural when I was 14-ish, in and around that age.
Mm.
Oh my God, mind-numbingly obsessed. I pissed everybody in my life off with this show.
Yeah,
Watched it live as it aired for the finale, cried my heart out. And during
good.
2020,
Yeah.
my my
Oh my
mom
God.
works in
So
healthcare.
long ago.
I
That's so
know,
long ago
I
now.
know, it's
Oh
nearly
my
five
God. You
years.
were 14 and you're what, 28 now? God. And that's true that, 17 years ago or whatever it was now.
Yeah.
You know what? I hear that from a lot of people. I hear like, and it's funny because I go to conventions and I'm always so curious. What is it about Supernatural that they still get a lot of comfort out of it? Because I hear from fans every day through Twitter and social media and all these other areas. I still get people that say it was the show that made it made my childhood better, it made my young adulthood better. I watch it with my parents, I watch my family, it was the thing that saved me. And that's not new. What was it? I think it was a combination of a lot of things. I think people anyway, it's a long list, but I think that people found something in Supernatural. I don't think it was one thing. I think it was a lot of things. I think it became cult-like because people found comfort in the boys. They found comfort in the music. They found comfort in something about what did somebody wrote a paper about fandom. I think they actually wrote their thesis statement. There's a woman in the States that wrote her whole dissertation. She spent years writing about fandom and sci-fi. And I think what she explained, what she'd learned over years of research, is that sci-fi attracts the underdog because it's fantasy. And often people that have a hard time earlier in life, we are attracted to fantasy and the underdog and the bad guy and dark stuff because it makes us feel better, it makes us feel connected.
Mm.
So when you have these two boys that are fighting for their lives in an altered world, people feel much more comfortable because sometimes a lot of supernatural fans, and I usually see them coming, and I can usually tell a lot of them grew up uh, not being accepted in school. There's a lot of them that come from the same group of people. They didn't feel like they fit in. They felt different. They dyed their hair purple. They felt goth. They felt whatever. And in sci-fi, you're accepted for everything that you are. Sci-fi is, it's not fantasy because that actually makes it sound like it's airy fairy and bullshit. I don't mean that. I just mean you're allowed to be whoever you want to be, and you can be the underdog. So Supernatural, because of all the things, good looking guys. Like, let's be honest. The audience is 89% women. Um, Underdogs and love and hate and heaven and hell and all this fantasy stuff. People get to feel like they belong somewhere. And then this fandom started, and then they found each other. And then those conventions started, and then they really connected with each other. So there are fandoms all over the world that they're best friends they've seen once in their lives. They're on the other side of the world, but they connect through Supernatural. So it really started a connection with people that felt like they somehow didn't relate to the rest of humanity. And
Yeah.
Supernatural really got that audience. They really had that. What else was it? The writing was funny. It was smart. Um, it really was the perfect storm of stuff that attracted a very, very big underdog audience, and it grew from there. And then you add 15 years, so you have millions, literally millions of fans around the world that feel less alone in the world because they had the show that helped them grow through, like you, 14 to 28. Those are really important years. And when you find a show that you can relate to, and then you find friends in, because all the social media that connected all the supernatural fandom, and I hate the word fandom, but all the fans, it really became a culture. Supernatural became a culture, it became its own animal. And it really, I don't even know what your question was. It was so long ago now, but you know what I mean? It Supernatural is just a different animal. So I do hear that all the time. And I think we're all of us, the boys, and by the boys, I mean all of those boys. And anybody that was a part of it, I think we're all really proud that we got to help people through some of the hardest times of their life. I hear that all the time. You guys helped us through the hardest time of our life. And uh, that's very satisfying, and it's very humbling to be a part of something like that. So I think we're all pretty grateful for that.
Yeah, but you did. And
Yeah, no, I know I hear that. I didn't believe it for the first couple of years, and then you
yeah,
hear it enough, and you're like, really? And yeah, no, I believe it now, and I'm yeah, very very proud of that. Very proud of that. It's my greatest feat so far.
like I went
Yeah,
back and did a rewatch during 2020, after years of watching, rewatching, and rewatching. I can quote the show, it's embarrassing.
yeah. No,
But
no, you're not alone.
my mom, she works in healthcare, so in 2020, everything went into lockdown, shit hit the fan. She was just not great mentally, and she was like, I need to be distracted, blah, blah, blah. I said, I'm finally gonna break you down. You're watching Supernatural with me. We
Mhm.
did, and it took her away. And I could see it in her. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? So it does, and it has helped so many people that you would never fucking expect.
Yeah, it
Um,
takes, yeah, that's a very good term for it. It takes people away.
yeah,
And so sci-fi does that, but supernatural especially just takes you away. It's, yeah, it takes you out of what's going on in your life so that you can live through this lovely something else going on. You know what's funny is I remember one of my first conventions, it was in England, and I hadn't met fans yet, and they sort of slowly. I remember seeing people, back in the lineup. They're coming up to get stuff signed, and there's one woman who's starting to cry. Probably 10 people back, 4 people back. She's bawling. By the time she gets to me, she's inconsolable, and I'm like, "Is she scared? I don't know what the deal was." And she finally got it out that, and then I heard this a lot after that. She said, "You reintroduced me to my family. My relationship with my mother is back on track because of you and Alona." And that's what's so humbling to me is because of that combination. And people that watch the show know this. We had, that relationship between a mother and daughter. They didn't write it to have so much of an effect, but it really nailed for some reason Ellen and Joe, that real mother-daughter relationship really hit people really hard. And I heard it for years. I still hear it that people, I know when it plays somewhere in the world, that episode, because people say they started talking to their family again after that episode, or after, seeing how much of a fiery mom I played on the show. There were a lot of people that really introduced their mom to it, and moms that introduced their daughters to it. And, families that got together to watch Supernatural as an annual. They said, I never see my family, but we sit down on Wednesday nights or whatever, what night, Saturday, I don't know what it was, AMC. And, we watch Supernatural. So I saw this show bring a lot of family together, and that's pretty wonderful to be a part of that.
we'll stay on the conventions for a second. We'll pivot back to Supernatural and to stay on the convention for a second because I have a question about that. That
Mm,
I do a lot of conventions. I fucking love going to them. I love the atmosphere. I love everything. But for you, like, it's a completely different experience. So
mm.
what's a con weekend like for you generally? Because I know you're doing Crossroads towards the end of the
I
year.
am. I'm so excited. You know what? I'm not doing any other ones this right now. I've just been so busy. I don't have a convention agent right now, so I'm just like, just let's focus on school. So I don't care. But I've done this one before with Sean. He's the guy that runs it, who I love, and they're a lot of fun. They're really tiring because it's just people. It's just 100% people in your face all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time.
Yeah,
And it's very tiring. I lose my voice every time because I'm not just one of those people that goes, "Hi, what's your name sign? Hi, what's your name sign?" I talk to people, and that's what I get out of it. I love them, but they're so draining. They just, they're so not overwhelming because I like the energy. Introverts would be terrified of these things because it's really in your face.
yeah.
I love them but they're a lot of work, but it's, you're meeting people that love what you do. How could you not love that? But it's a lot. It's just you have to exert a ton of energy. You're just on for 48 hours, and you do a cocktail party and you do this and you do that, and the Q&As I love because I love connecting with the fans. I give good Q&A because I talk about everything, and I'm crass and fun and loud and blah blah. I'm very animated. I love them. I love them. I think most people do. I mean, I'm sure the boys got sick of them after a while because for them, it's especially a lot of work. They made a shitload of money. Don't get me wrong. They bought a plane to fly them to and from, which makes sense because I shouldn't even be telling the story, but Jared said, because they'd shoot on Monday morning. So, if you're wrapping up in Texas, and they did so many of them, they had to get back in time to have sleep. They had young families. Like
Yeah.
to fly a regular commercial airline was just too hard. So Jared, smart, bought a plane, uh, leased it to either the production company or the convention. They paid him to fly him and Jared, probably Misha and stuff, whoever had to work Monday morning. So they had a way in and out so they could go to the conventions, also come back and shoot. And then in the end, he sold the plane. I think he sold it for more than he bought it for. So he made serious money off that plane and they got to do all these conventions and they made killer cash, killer money.
Brain move from him. God
Yeah.
damn.
Yeah, very good business move. I don't think he realized how successful that little endeavor was going to be, but it was brilliant. And that was the only way they could do the conventions, though. Like they just couldn't do the
It was too
numbers and
much.
get back to
Otherwise,
work. It was just way too
yeah.
much. So they probably got sick of them in the end because Jensen is actually pretty shy. Jared, not so much, but Jensen's pretty shy. Jensen's been doing this since he was a child. They're both beautiful, but Jensen really has been admired for his beauty, and he's not comfortable with that. They're very humble guys. They're Texas, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, hat off at the dinner table. They're very, very good, decent, grounded boys, and always have been. And so Jensen didn't even want to do conventions at the beginning. He really didn't. I think it was me, Jared, Misha. I think they finally got Jensen on board. Um, and then somebody, he got attacked, not attacked, but some woman jumped on him and he went, nope, see, I'm not doing this anymore. He's not comfortable with his beauty, which is, it's all more endearing about him. He's really not. I mean, he got used to it after a while, but he was pretty shy. He didn't like all the attention of people pawing at him. And they really do. Like back in the old days, wow, the fans used to just paw at these guys and they'd have, security and women would fling themselves at them. And it was just crazy to watch.
I can't imagine though, especially like at the height of everything, having the balls to walk into a room full of people that just love the show. Like even for you, walking into a space where
No, you get it. No, it's a big rush.
you know,
That's not hard at all because people love what you do. Like it's like, yeah, it's like somebody patting, it's like somebody saying, I love, like you affected me. There's nothing better. It's a buzz. It's a rush. It's such a great feeling to know that you have affected somebody's life for the better.
yeah.
So that's not hard at all. The only hard part is it's a marathon, too solid for by the end. And usually we go out and let's be honest, we go out and party at night. If it's me and Chad, like you have your convention buddies, me and Chad
Yeah.
Lindbergh, and who else? Oh, DJ Qual. So me, Chad, DJ, good buddies.
Oh, I
So if
love
we
you.
go out, I know, and DJ's a big partier. So you can't not party when you're with him. So we'll go and find a quiet little bar wherever he gets noticed everywhere, but we'll go to a convention and we'll find a quiet corner of a bar because people are usually very nice now. They've gotten better at coming up to you, but he'll just get approached, him and if I'm with them and if it's, you just get approached all the time.
Hmm.
So you kind of got to find a quiet bar, but we party. We end up partying late into the night and then you get up the next morning and it's like camp for actors because we don't see each other all year long other than the conventions. So Ruthie, oh my God, how's it going? So we'll go and have dinner in our hotel or we'll go and, but she also gets noticed very fast because she's very obvious, with the red hair and it's hard. People are usually pretty respectful, but when you go and have dinner with a bunch of supernatural, you don't get left alone. So usually the boys will get a restaurant or they'll rent a floor of a restaurant and we'll all go there. Or, sometimes they bring their kids, so they'll just do their own thing. So it's tough, but it's no, conventions don't let anybody tell you they're a horrible thing. They're fucking great.
I fucking love him as well.
Yeah.
I met it's so weird because like I said, I've been a fan for 14 years and it's only this year I went to my first ever supernatural convention this year.
Oh, wow.
I
Oh,
don't know.
wow.
I know, dude, I'm covered in supernatural tattoos. And this
Yeah.
year
Isn't
I
that
went,
weird?
I know, I was like, fuck this, I have to go. And I went by myself. Megan, bless her soul, took me under
A
her
lot
wing.
of people go by themselves, just so you know.
Yeah,
You make friends there because you're all there for the same reason.
that's
It's so easy to
exactly what
meet people.
happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Megan took me in under her wing, her and her little like convention bubble. They were like, girl, we got you, don't worry. And I was like, oh, thank God. But I met not Jensen, I met Jared for the first time. And I met Misha in an airport. Waited
Yeah.
14 fucking years to meet the man, and I was having my little ham sandwich by the gate, and he just walks past me. He was on my flight. I nearly passed out in the fucking
Did
airport.
you go up and say hi?
I did. I did. I didn't ask for a picture or nothing because I know, be respectful and I
Yeah,
don't want to
especially when
feel.
those boys get a lot. But they, as long as they
Yeah,
have no problem with somebody saying, "Hey, man, love your work." Nobody has a problem with that.
exactly what
Nobody,
I did.
unless you're a douchebag Hollywood actor, nobody has a problem with that. It's when they get really, people hiding behind poles and taking pictures and like getting,
Following them and
that's
yeah.
when it gets too much. And it does, when you're Jared and Jensen, that's how that goes.
Mm.
But yeah, nobody has any problem with somebody saying, and Misha loves his fans. So anybody just saying, "Hey man, love your work. Watch 18 years," and then people show a little tattoo, and the actors go, "Fucking right on, man. That's great. Glad to hear it." And sometimes they come up and talk to you. Sometimes they're not in the mood. Whatever.
One thing I found, especially with Supernatural cast, every person has been so lovely. Every single
Yeah.
person. And I
Mhm.
was wondering for you, especially because you've done a lot of conventions for yourself. You know the saying, never meet your heroes.
You know
Have you
what? Yep. Yep. I
experienced,
will agree with that. I've had that experience. It was horrible.
I was going to say, have you ever experienced the opposite?
Yeah.
That you met someone that you
Yeah.
loved and they were nice.
They weren't nice. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I've met. I mean, I don't get. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's going to be different than you. But mine, what was it? It was. What was the big convention that I went to? Was it Rhode Island? It was a Comic Con. It was one of the big ones.
Hmm.
I think it was Rhode Island. Rhode Island, whatever the big convention, Rhode Island, whatever it is. Anyway, I grew up with a show called MASH. That's my comfort food. That's my, we're talking about shows that you're comfortable because they're from. So it was, you won't remember it, but it was an army show called MASH. And a woman named Loretta Swit, who is now 80 or 85 or something, she was going to be there. And I found out about it. A friend of mine said Loretta Swit's going to be there. And I'm like, oh my God, I have to get a picture with Loretta Swit. And I think it works how it works with actors, and you're there as a guest. That you go up and you talk to the, and I was like, no, I'll pay for it. I don't need a private. But the guy who was her handler said, no, if you're a fan, come backstage, and I'm going to get, all those guests, all the other actors that are fans, because there's a lot of them. MASH was a big deal. And so there were a bunch of us that were going to get shots with her and Jamie Farr, who were the two big stars, and I was just starstruck. And they were going to do a rotate of us before they brought the fans in, people. And I'm like, I'll pay for it. They said, no, 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 we'll bring you guys in. Anyway, she was a bit confused. She's 80, 86. Like, it's hard to do it for me. It takes a lot of energy. So, and Jamie Farr was in a wheelchair. They're quite old. So yeah, I didn't, it's a long story, but she was just confused. She's like, I'm sorry, who are these people? Like, nobody had explained to her what was going on. So she was just confused. And the guy said, Sam, come on over here first. And I came over and she was just thrown off. So she was a little annoyed. She's like, wait, what, who are you? And she was just put off.
Right.
And one guy saying, get the picture, we got to do this quickly. And she's like, well, and she's watching out for Jamie, who's in a wheelchair. So he goes, you ready? And I'm like, oh, okay. So I kind of put my hand on her shoulder and she flicks my hand off and says, I don't know what's going on here, but I guess we're taking a fucking picture or something like that. She didn't swear, but she was really angry with me. She looked and she just flicked my arm off her shoulder. She was just mad at the situation. And I get it. I was just the first one up. By the time the third person, another actor, came up, she's like, oh, is okay. Well, why didn't somebody explain this to me? So I was just the first one in. But I walked away. I went to the bar that night by myself. DJs, you want to come for dinner? I'm like, nope, I don't. And I went to the bar, put my hair up, put my glasses on, just didn't want to be bugged. And I sat there and I cried. I
Oh,
was so, and I emailed my buddy who we're both MASH fans, and she said, oh my God, how was Loretta Swit? You posted your picture, and I said it was horrible and I cried. So it was really heartbreaking. And somebody said, and I think I told somebody the next day, they said, hey, blah, blah, Loretta Swit. And I said, yeah. And they said, oh, what happened? I said, it just wasn't, it just killed so it's killed. I don't even have the picture. It's away in my files. I don't even have it out. It was such a horrible experience. And I don't blame her. I just don't meet your heroes. Don't meet your heroes. Sometimes they'll be great, or just be prepared. Be prepared for you don't know what they're going through at the moment or whatever. And so that was mine. Horrible.
I think the scary
I
thing is a
cried
human
big
them.
tears at the bar. The bartender bought me a shot. I'm like,
Oh
don't. I
no.
said, this is first world problems. They said, are you okay? And I said, it was like my glasses, it was like filling up. And I had to like take glasses off and let the tears run down. Like, it was really, I was feeling very sorry for myself. So yes, that was my experience. And it's fucking horrible.
No,
But I
you
don't think it is what it is, but it ruined it for me. Could I take that back? I wish I'd never met her. Yes. I wish it had never happened. I wish I had just always had a great memory. So now my memory of MASH is just, colored. It's like, oh, she hated me in that moment. It wasn't about me, but it still was directed at me. And I'm like, yeah.
That sucks, dude. And I think like I don't blame you at all for feeling like you could just take it back. I have experiences like that myself where it's like I don't know if it humanizes them or you catch them on a bad day. And like everyone's human, like you said, everyone is bad.
Everyone has a bad day, and that's when you hear about actors being assholes. I would say I want to hear it more than once because sometimes you never hear the real story. Sometimes they're fighting with their partner, and a fan comes up with them, and they're like, "Excuse me, you know what I'm writing?" But it looks like an ass. You look like an asshole.
Yeah.
Like you don't know the context. You'd have to hear it a couple times to go, "Okay, I've heard that 4 times now. Okay, that person's an asshole."
Yeah.
Or see it firsthand. You're like, okay, and there's a lot of actors that I've worked with who are I'm ashamed to be in the same business as them. But I would like to say that more than not, I've met more good people than shitty people. And Supernatural was a very um they were really lucky. The attitude trickles from the top, and because you had two boys that had a very good head on their shoulders, they had no attitude. And that crew were their family. You didn't fuck with that crew. And they were really good. And when you have no ego at the top, uh, it just creates everything. So all the actors had to behave. And if an actor showed up and tried to pull some bullshit, the boys would shut it down really fast. And it did. Some guys would go down Canada because they're shooting in Canada. And the boys are like, yeah, no, no,
That will
no.
fly here.
No, I think, Linda Blair, who was the exorcist, she's old school. She was mean. She was fucking nasty. Usually child actors are nasty. There's something wrong with them. And she made the makeup girl cry. And I think the boys are like, yeah, you're gone. No more. I think they were supposed to be, I think it was her that they were supposed to be in more episodes. And they said, no, no, you're gone. Like they really protected the people. And so if you showed up and tried to get a load of the camera guy, and they're like, that camera guy is the godfather of my children. You're going to get your fucking shit together or you're not going to be here. Paris
Nice.
Hilton came on and they said, "Hey, Paris, would love to have you." And she was great, apparently, but no entourage, no entourage. You use, I think, our hair and makeup people or whatever it was. Like they just said, you can come on the show, but you have to, no toot.
Yeah.
So the actors that were on the show ended up being just really decent people, or you didn't last. And so it was great. There was very few people. Mark Shepard could be a real douchebag, but I think that was part of his shtick. Um, I'm trying to think of the regulars. No, I didn't. No, no, I think they were all great. They were all fantastic people.
Because there was a standard set, I guess.
Oh yeah, yeah. The Ruthies and
Mm.
the people that recurred and the DJs and the, people that came back and, there were the regulars that sort of showed up a lot. And then there was the people that just were peppered in here and there. And then there's people that did a bunch of episodes, but they still love them. And that. Yeah, of all the people that I know. And then you see the same people at conventions. So they're all just such a great group of people.
And with Ellen then, how did that even come about for you? How did you book the gig to begin with?
Supernatural, I think I auditioned up here. They were looking to cast it in the States. Back then, that was 17 years ago. They didn't, producers didn't think that Canadians could act. So, but it was so much cheaper. If they could find the role in Canada, I think they would definitely, because you didn't have to fly them back and forth. You didn't have to give them per diem. You didn't have to put them in a nice hotel. So
Mm.
they always, ideally would love to have found the character. So I think they were just like, okay, let's look and see what Canada has with no intention of hiring. Most of it's American. I just happened to be a very good Ellen. So they were like, my voice again, you hear my voice and you go, oh, who's that? And then it's like, oh no, she, and then you come back and you test again, and then you meet, different producers and da 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 da. And then they're like, yep, we found our Ellen. You nailed it right from the get-go. So it was an audition here that you don't think is going to go any further and turned into 6 years of a great TV show. Yeah. Yeah, no, I was very lucky.
And what was your first day on set like? What was the first thing that you remember being lined up?
When I come out of they come into an empty bar. You've probably seen it. When they come into an empty bar and they're like, I don't know if they were looking for Ellen Harvell. No, they don't. They don't know. They're just coming into an empty bar and you hear a click and there's a gun right behind Jensen and he's like, Sam, a little help in here. And then Sam comes through the door of the kitchen
Um,
with his hands up saying, I'm a little busy. And then I'm coming out. You see me behind him. That's the first shot is me coming out of the kitchen and little busy here. And then I think he says, I think they say John or Winchester, and I say blah, blah, blah. And I go, Sam, Dean, Winchester? And they say, yeah. And I said, John's boys? And they say, yeah. I'm like, and then I laugh and I drop the gun and I'm like, hey, I'm Ellen. This is my daughter, Joe. That's the first scene we ever shot was me walking out of the kitchen with my gun behind Jared's head.
you still remember the dialogue and everything.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. Yeah. I just because I've talked about this so many times and Ash on the pick, Ash on the and they hired me, Alona, and Chad at the same time because we all came with the Harvell's Roadhouse. So and yeah, Chad. Chad's my favorite guy. One of my favorite people in the whole world is Chad. And all of my scenes with him they would always crack me up. I would have to say, Chad, you just gotta just say the lines, don't be Chad, because he would, when the camera's on you, I just couldn't stop laughing. Like he just killed me, and which grew into a very, very good friendship.
It's easy to see why. I don't know how he, especially ye like as a unit, I don't know how he got through certain scenes without losing it. There's one scene to this day I still can't get through without laughing. I don't know, is it Sam or Dean? Somebody says something about Ash and they go, I mean, we've killed him and he's fine. And he just goes,
Yeah.
I'm cool with it. And to this day, I'm just like, I don't know how anyone gets through like a take on this show.
Yeah. Oh no, he brought it, man. Nobody could do Ash like Chad did. And it's funny because we shot it and I mean, he did what he did in the audition. And then they had to reshoot it a week later because he was too Ash. They needed to bring it down a bit. It got a bit comedic. It got a bit, and they still needed, it's a still serious show. It's got comedic parts, but because the way he first did it, clowns, hey, is it closing time? He had to bring it down a bit because he also had to be an MIT fucking savant, right? So he had to bring it down a bit. But um he's every scene they're like something about clowns, and he goes, clowns, what the and they cut him off right then, and they go to, and if you he did stuff on his own that was his own that he ad-libbed. If you ever notice him any bar scene, he always walks up and drinks the beer that's sitting in front of him. So it's always in the bar. The boys have a beer. Whenever they put the beer down, if you'll ever notice, he'll just go up and he'll be talking to them and he'll take a sip of their beer and put it back. He does it every time. I don't know if you ever notice it.
No, I didn't.
If you go back and watch it again, he takes a sip of all of their beers. And that's just Chad ad-libbing that. Nobody told him to do that. And you have to really pay attention to it. So if you're going back and watching, the Roadhouse scenes again, and where he's introducing, and they're like, hey, Ash, can you? And he goes, absolutely, I can. Roger that. And he gets on the computer and looks shit up. And
Yeah.
yeah, if you'll notice, whenever he takes a beer, it's not his, it's theirs. He just killed me. He just absolutely killed me.
He was Ash. They were one, basically.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, he nailed it. Party in the back, business up front, party in the back. Like he really had some great
Fucking
lines.
mullet.
But
Yeah.
yeah, he was very funny. Very, very, very funny.
But I loved him in contrast to Ellen because Ellen, there was something, there was an element to her, there was an element of comedy to her where it would be the way she'd look or the way she'd say something, but she was like a no bullshit, like badass. That's
Yeah,
what drew me to her.
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's why I think so many people really fell apart on our final scene. And I still hear about that. Like I said, it makes people cry. I know where it played somewhere in the world because I get a bunch of tweets or Instagram or whatever, people saying, saw it again last night, bawled my eyes out. Like it really, it affected people. And I don't think they anticipated that it would. Like it really, like Phil Screechius contacted me and Alona and said, this is killing it. Like we shot it well, but they really said, this is really hitting the fans hard. They didn't see it coming. They had to do a mid-season finale. They're like, guys, no offense, good news and bad news. And we're like, oh, fuck. I said, you're killing us. And they said, yeah, but you're going out in a blaze of glory. And it really was a blaze of glory. So it was a great, very satisfying scene to shoot. And it was the end, but it really hit people hard, really hard, which is great. That's what you want as an actor. You want to affect people's emotions. And that one really did it, apparently.
yeah, but like I said, you did go out in a blaze of glory. I think her
We
last
did.
words
We
were,
really did.
go
Yeah,
back
we
to
really did.
hell, you ugly bitch, or something. She says to the
Yeah,
hellhound. Um,
yeah.
But it was a very heavy and charged scene. How do you decompress after shooting something like that?
I love that stuff. That's therapy for me. I just get up, laugh it off, and off you go. Like if you're an actor, I love the emotional scenes because they, like I said, I'm not a crier in my real life. So when I can really get into a scene and really feel it, that just feels cathartic. It's like, oh my God, that's like stretching for me. It's like, oh my God, that felt good. So no, it was also our last scene. It was dark. You had to stay in the moment. So it was very dark on set. The crew are usually very considerate of actors when they have a big emotional scene. They get very quiet. They just disappear. Like normally when you're between scenes on any other, it's pretty light and fuzzy. People come up talk to you, and then you settle. On
Mm.
that scene, I didn't even see the crew. I'm like, are they even here? They're like, yep, they're just being respectful of you guys. And because it was a lot of crying. We cried all day. Me and Alona cried all day. But that stuff is easy for me. That stuff's the fun stuff. That stuff I like.
Crying all day.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Any crying scene. It doesn't affect me once it's cut, it's like, ah, that was great. That was fun. Let's do that again. Yeah. It doesn't hit me like that.
It's a very healthy way to be.
Yeah. Yeah. Healthy and maybe not so healthy.
Yeah, true. It might all just come down and hit you someday. One of the lines that I always loved is I think she's on the phone with Dean and she says something like, they say you can't protect your loved ones forever, but bullshit, that's what family's for,
Yeah.
kind of.
Well, I say bullshit. That's what family's for. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what was going on there. He needed help or something, and I was going to go help them find Sam I don't know
Yeah,
what,
because
I don't
Sam and Dean
remember
were
what.
together at the time.
Yeah, I think we were. Yeah, I don't remember. I remember the phone call. I remember getting mad at him. I had different episodes with both boys. I had, episodes with where I only saw Jared and you bond with them. And then I had episodes where I only shot with Jensen.
Mm.
And then I had episodes where I only shot with Misha. So, and then Jim Beaver. And then Jim Beaver and who was the gates of hell or whatever we were hiding behind. We were killing some anyway. Yeah, you have different
Yeah.
episodes where you don't even see, like your shooting doesn't even cross paths with one of the boys or whatever, and you just see one of them. You're like, oh hey, and you see them every day for a week, and then you don't see them again for a
Months.
month or whatever. Yeah.
I was wondering what's one of your favorite lines that she had that stuck with you?
The very last scene, that death scene where I turn around and I say, and Dean, kick it in the ass, don't miss.
Mm.
The kick in the ass was not part of the script. It was an homage to Kim Manners, who was a director for the show. He was my first director, and he died during the shooting of that show. And he never told anybody. He was such a stoic man. He had cancer, and he didn't want anybody feeling sorry for him. He's a real tough, smoking, drinking guy, and he didn't tell anybody. And so when he died, nobody knew. So it was a real shock to everyone. He'd been sick for a while. And he always would say, instead of action, he would say, kick it in the ass. And that just meant start whenever you want. That was directors had a different way of saying, and action and kick it in the ass. And that was just like, go get it whenever you want. And it was known for him for saying that. So some random crew guy, I don't know if it was one of the camera assistants or if it was their stand in that ended up dying. He was Yop. His name was Yop. Somebody came up and said, hey man, when you turn around, so I'm just supposed to turn around and say, and Dean, don't miss. When I'm saying, go boys, go, like I'm gonna kill both of us, blah, 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 blah.
Mm.
And so I turn around and he said, you know what? Why don't you try when you turn around? Why don't you try? No, why don't you try? Because he's not gonna tell me. He said, somebody just said it'd be cool if you said, and Dean, kick it in the ass as an homage to Kim Manners. And I was like, oh my God. So we didn't even tell them we were doing it. I'm like, that is such a great idea. So nobody saw it coming. Nobody knew I was going to say it. So I turn around and I go, and Dean, kick it in the ass. And everybody visibly stopped because everybody knew it was for Kim Manners. It was such an emotionally charged scene. Everybody just paused for a split second. And then we rolled on and we finished the scene. And then it was cut and everybody went, oh my God. And it was like, yeah. And they were like, holy shit. The boys were like, fuck, I didn't anticipate that. Like it was a real shocker. And then they ended up using both scenes, both lines. So it was, and Dean, kick it in the ass. And he just looks at me. So his reaction was real. Him and uh, Jared were just like, whoa, because that was not expected. And then I say, kick it in the ass, don't miss. So they used both. That's my favorite line because it just had such power to it and nobody knew it was coming. And you just saw visibly, you just felt the whole room go, whoa, wow.
That it was
That was
raw.
that. Yeah. Yeah. It was really great.
Fuck. Beautiful
Yeah.
story.
Yeah. Yeah. It was good. It was good. It helped us cry. It helped everything. It was, the boys are like, whoa. It just helped. It helped add to the brevity of the scene.
There's little tidbits like that that you wouldn't even think of as a viewer. That like that, you
Mm,
all do become so connected with each other. You know what I mean?
mm.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then in terms of what you're up to today, then what kind of work have you been exploring?
Well, I I mean it's a really long story, but 20 years ago, I guess 20, wow, it's more than 20 years. Yeah, 21 years ago, I started struggling with chronic pain. And it took me 20 years of really struggling with chronic pain. I was suicidal. It was horrible. My world was coming to an end. And in the last couple of years, I've learned really what most of chronic pain is, and it would blow your mind. 90, and I'm not going to get into it, but 90% of chronic pain is mind body related. So 90 to 95% of chronic pain is actually our brain and our nervous system responding to fear and sadness and grief and emotional stuff, repressed stuff, and fear and anger. And it's totally treatable. It's completely fixable and it's work you do yourself and it doesn't cost you a thing. So when I really learned the truth about what chronic pain was, I realized that this is my role in this world. This is what I'm here to do. I just overnight I went, oh, I know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. Didn't have kids. As I said earlier, our job is to make this a better place than when we got here. That's, I think when you leave, you have to have done something good in this world. People bring in kids. That's your job. I didn't have kids. So what's my role? My role is going to be to help people out of chronic pain. So I am embarking on finishing my education now. I have a couple social media. Are they on yet? They are. And is it Chronic Pain No More? I think it's if you go and look, I'm starting, I've got to get my website up, but I have a Facebook group, I have Instagram, I have Twitter, which I hate that I'm still there because Elon Musk is such a fucking piece of shit.
Oh yeah.
But I have 95,000 followers and I can reach a lot of people. And my goal in my life now is to reach as many people with chronic pain before I die and point out what mind body syndrome is. So I'm focusing more on that now. I'm going to travel the world. I want to speak about it. I want to help people. I'm going to create courses. I want to help as many people out of chronic pain as I can before I die because there's people don't realize how easy it is to be out of chronic pain and what it really is. And it's my job to tell as many people as I can. So I'm sort of shifting more towards that. That's where my attention is. Will I do some acting for sure? If somebody phoned and said, hey, do you want to come and do a gig on this? Yeah, I'm absolutely going to say yes. It's still fun. That's not where my focus is anymore. So that's my passion and that's my plight.
What I'm going to get you to do is send me the links to anything that you want, any pages,
Sure.
and I can include
Absolutely.
them all in the description box down below so people can check it out and read up
Yeah.
on it. Um,
Absolutely. Sure. Yeah, I'll send that to you.
so one last question I just want to touch on is you do posts once a week, and is it Super Soul Sunday where you post
Yeah.
like something inspirational or like a little quote?
Yeah.
And I love it because it always reminded me of the saying, be the person that you needed when you were younger, that you're just kind of
I
this.
think I've even posted that one. Yeah.
I think you might have as well, that it's just
Yeah.
like beam of positivity that is needed in so much shit that you do read online.
Yeah.
Um, so I just wanted to know, what is the best piece of advice that you have been given personally?
Oh my God.
And I know that's
Um,
an impossible fucking question.
that isn't impossible. You have to find compassion for yourself because you're the only person that's stuck with you 24/7. We've learned to hate ourselves and we've been trained to hate ourselves. And, we come from no parent rocked. Well, I shouldn't say no parent, very few parents really rocked. All of us have some trauma from our childhood. I would say you have to find some self-compassion. I hated myself my whole life until, I mean, that ties into the chronic pain stuff. It was shit that I learned and messages that I got that I wasn't good enough. We are good enough just as we are. That's my biggest. There are what, 8 billion people on this earth. You're one of them. I'm one of them. We're here for a reason. We're here. We're not junk. We are here to just live and enjoy this life and chase after what you want in this life. Don't don't run away from your fear. Go after the shit that you want to do in this life. You have 80 years to live. Leave it having tried everything. Even if you're scared of it, go after it. I changed careers 3 fucking times and I 180'd. And I may do it again, but I think the chronic pain stuff is I I I really did chase a matter of different careers. And I said this at the beginning of our interview, age doesn't mean anything. Go after there. That's probably the biggest piece of advice, actually, right there, is go after what you want in this life. Don't let fear, don't let anything hold you back. Don't let age. I'm 55 and I'm embarking on a new career. And it's terrifying, but it's something that I have to do and I want to do. Don't let anything hold you back. Go after it all. Do it all. Anybody can. Just you got to believe in yourself. You got to have self-compassion and you have to believe in yourself because nobody else will if you don't.
That is gorgeously kind. I think people need to hear shit like that more often than.
Yeah, that's why I do Super Soul Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, Samantha, I have kept you here long enough. Thank you so much for sitting and talking with me.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much for having me. Love the stuff in the background. Love it. Love it. Keep watching
Thank you.
Supernatural. It'll be going forever and ever and
Yeah,
ever. Even
we
the
all
show's
know
gone.
it.
Yeah, you'll watch it again soon, I'm sure.
And that is it for this video, you guys. Like I mentioned in the interview, any relevant links are going to be down below. So links to Samantha's Twitter, Instagram, any links that she wants me to include will also be in the description down below. Just click that little drop box or show more option, whatever the fuck it's called. Yes, thank you so much for watching. Again, a big thank you to Samantha for sitting and talking and sharing time and stories. Time is the most precious thing that we have. So anytime anyone takes the time to sit and speak and just like really connect, it is just magic. So hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you all for watching and I will talk to you all soon.